Pardon the fans, it's July. It's hot. Hi there, Adam Parsons here, and I went to Vidcon. If you don't know what Vidcon is, it was started by the Vlog brothers, John and Hank Green. If those names sound familiar, well, they should, and you should look them up. It started in 2010 and has continued every year since, making this number 5. The last 3 of the 5 annual VidCons have been held at the Anaheim Convention Center in California. And this is the first one I've ever attended, and it may be the last. This is entirely based on my experience, my expectations, and my own personal interests and choices. It only relates to myself, and it's not intended to speak generally about anybody in particular. It's not intended to sway anyone else from going to VidCon. It's just to tell you about my experience. Now, on the surface, VidCon seemed to take place over the course of 3 days. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, June 26th, 27th, and 28th. That's what the site basically tells you until you look a little closer. Registration was actually on the 25th, on Wednesday, and then you have the VidCon Disney Day on 29th. Now, this trip was part of a vacation that I'm taking from work. I was able to go with Tim Turner of Tim's Puppet Pals and my girlfriend Teresa. While we did go primarily for VidCon, we decided to push our budget a little bit and go to Disneyland as well, just for our own purposes. Now, we could have taken advantage of the VidCon Disney Day, but it seemed like a bad idea if you had that many more people in the park just for Disney Day. We wanted Teresa's experience to at least be a whole day without the extra park goers. If you don't know, we live in Oregon, which is quite a ways away from Anaheim. It's about 16 hours if you want to get into driving time, and we drove down. We left on Tuesday night and arrived Wednesday at about 3 to 4 p.m. So that kind of knocked out registration on Wednesday for VidCon, which was fine by us. There was registration available 2 hours before the event even started. Then we knocked out Disney Day because there was really no need to go to Disney Day when everyone else was going, for the reasons I already mentioned. We decided to go to Disneyland on Friday because there was a lot more that we wanted to see going on Saturday at VidCon. Thursday was the day we decided all this. We didn't really know what we were doing, and that really kind of made an impression on our experience. So the 2 days we actually went to VidCon were Thursday and Saturday, skipping Friday. So if anything really amazing happened Friday, we were unfortunately out of the loop. So the first day at VidCon seemed like mass confusion. There was just this big line that snaked all the way around after we had registered, and it almost went out to the street, and that's when they had to figure out something to do with us. Now, they had other rooms around sort of what I would call the exhibition hall. I don't know what they call it, but that's what I'm calling it because all the exhibits and booths and things like that were there. And they lined us all up in those rooms where it got really hot really fast because you have so many bodies together just waiting, all compacted in these lines. They were kind of like rows side by side. So we were let in. There's supposed to be a VidCon app for your phone. I hate the word app, for the record. It stands for application. Anyway, it would download on my phone, but it wouldn't run. It wouldn't unload. It just said invalid file package or something like that. So it never really worked for me. I downloaded it 2 or 3 times and got the same message every time, which I guess is the definition of insanity, so there you go. But I did that because everyone kept trying to help me download it, as if I didn't know how to download it. No, I downloaded it just fine. It just wouldn't install on my phone. Maybe my phone was too old. I'm not sure. But it worked for everyone else. It just didn't work for me. So that was frustrating. Teresa and Tim kept offering me their phones. You know, here, you can look at mine. I sort of put up this block when something doesn't belong to me. Like, why would I learn how to use something that isn't mine? I mean, that's entirely my problem, so don't think that I'm blaming anyone but myself for that one. It just made it that much more difficult for me to deal with VidCon. we got this bag of stuff when we registered, and it was just stuff. It's all just paper and just advertisements, you know. And I guess they're being sponsored and all these people are involved, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it was just seemed really wasteful. I went through everything and found out what wouldn't apply to me, guaranteed, and threw it out. And I threw out at least a third of what was in the bag. It just seemed weird, you know, to me, that just, here's all this stuff that you won't need, especially when, you know, there's a big online video push of recycling and clean water and all this stuff, and they're just throwing bags of trash at us, you know. That just didn't seem right to me. But, you know, that's just my opinion, and a lot of those things were, you know, challenges for the YouTube audience and stuff like that. There was just sort of mass confusion throughout the day. I mean, there were literally lines that didn't go anywhere. A group of people stood for a second, and a line just formed behind them. And everyone thought it was for a signing or something. We got up to the front of the line because we weren't interested in signing. We weren't standing in line for that, so we passed up that line to go do something else. And when we got up there, they told us that it wasn't a line for anything, that people were literally standing in line based on assuming there was some signing going on, and they had no idea what it was for. They were just standing in line. And there were stampedes of usually teenage girls. Anytime, you know, a tweet would go out that somebody was there, so you'd just be standing there and suddenly you'd hear this loud shrieking, and there's this group of people would just stampede across the convention center. It was very distracting from trying to learn what was going on. It was really, really tough. We did manage to talk to a few people. You had your people who made videos who were hoping to talk to actual video makers about making videos, and then you had the fans. I don't mean fans in an ugly way. I should say audience, but I'm not talking about my audience. I'm not talking about a specific audience. I don't know what else to call them. Convention goer. You know, we would talk to these casual, you know, the people that were there for the meet and greets and the autographs and the everything I wasn't there for. And they would just go on and on and on about how excited they were to meet people and how many autographs they had received, which, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying is a bad thing. I realized that's what my past had said. See, we don't have a lot of money. We don't make a lot of money, and we could only afford a community pass. Now, there are multiple levels of clearance you get with various passes. The community tickets give you access to meetups, signings, gatherings, performances, and general audience fare. The community passes say, I'm here because I want to see famous YouTubers, and I'm here to get autographs, and I'm here to enjoy myself and have a party. Which is not what we were there for. We didn't know, you know, that it would be such a distinct line between, you know, we knew with if we didn't buy industry passes, we wouldn't have certain access, but we didn't think it would be such a heavy line. The industry pass gets you into more panels, more meet and greets. You actually have a chance to talk to some of the bigger YouTubers more than the community pass does, because they're not treating you like you're just there for autographs and to meet people and to be excited. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being there for those things, or I'm definitely not saying that everybody there with a community pass was there for those things. We certainly weren't. So, please understand, it just seemed like this huge disconnect between anyone with a community pass and anyone with an industry pass, which I guess is supposed to be how it is. And looking back, I wish I'd known that in advance so I could have saved more money for it. The highlight of the first day was playing around in the arcade area and goofing off on a few of the inflatable attractions. There was a big ball that you could bounce around in.
You just ran around in a giant hamster ball.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's fun.
And there was sort of a bungee game. Not sure what you call it, but you fight a bungee cord. You're tied to a bungee cord, and you fight to get a marker as far as you can against another person. And we all had a lot of fun doing that. So the second day was, like I mentioned, spent at Disneyland. The third day was a little more productive in what we wanted to do, what we wanted out of VidCon, which was to experience panels and to talk to people and to try to learn a lot about the industry, you know, a little bit more. And so we actually got in to sit in the audience for panels. I sat in on a panel called The Future of Online Video with quite a few popular YouTubers. Basically, we got in about halfway through the panel, and I felt like we would have got more out of it if we had got to sit in on the whole thing. The next panel we got to sit in on was about script writing and something I'm terrible at. Improvisation. The second panel we sat in on was script writing and improvisation with a group of people who seem to be having a lot more fun than the first panel. They really seem to be hyped up. The only one I'd heard of was Michael Buckley, but everyone else there just seemed to really enjoy themselves. I mean, so did he. I'm just saying it's the only one I've heard of. And they just really seemed to enjoy themselves. They enjoyed what they were talking about. They enjoyed the audience. They enjoyed everything. The third panel I did not get to sit in on. Tim did, and that was growing up a YouTuber, which had a lot of people who have grown up as YouTubers in it. I'm not entirely sure what they talked about. I don't know if Tim will post a YouTube video to explain it. It's not that important. The fourth and final panel we sat in on was more for Teresa, which was how to start an online YouTube channel. She was thinking it might be a little bit more of a workshop-esque panel where they really show you some ins and outs instead of preaching to you what basically every YouTuber will tell you when telling you how to start your own YouTube channel. Find your passion, do what you're good at. It's all the stuff that basically anyone worth their salt will tell you. So we kind of bowed out of that early and began the drive home. So in a nutshell, VidCon for me was gets a C+, which sounds good because I added the plus, but it's really not. And I'm not saying it's everyone's going to think the same. I mean, there were definitely people there who were enjoying themselves. Maybe if I had an industry pass, it would have been a little bit more fun, but I get the feeling that it just wasn't for me. There wasn't a whole lot there for people who write stories, for people who want to put out real scripts, if you understand what I'm saying. Tim's Puppet Pals does these legitimate stories now and again. I do legitimate stories. Well, in my mind, I do legitimate stories now and again. There wasn't a whole lot there for the how-to art videos that I post every so often. There wasn't anything there for... like I said, we attended a thing called script writing, and they honestly barely talked about it. Believe it or not, what I took from it was we've got to keep making, we being Tim, myself, and anyone else who feels that they want to tell a story. If I can make the alien vlogs a better story, if I can bring forth some of the other things I have in my mind and make stories out of those on, a low budget and still have it be really good. If we can get other people doing it, maybe that representation that was missing for us will be there for others in future VidCons. It actually did want to make me produce more content, but only because I was disappointed with the representation that existed there for the kind of content I produce. So it's kind of a backwards way of getting inspiration, but it did inspire me to a degree. Also, the trip to Disneyland was quite inspiring. Trips to Disney just make me, kind of fuel my creativity quite a bit. Yeah, with that said, thanks for watching, and look out for more videos because I'm going to start kicking myself in the butt here. See you again soon.